Now, welcome to another edition of Battle of the Heroes and Villains, where this time we'll be taking a look at the results of the poll for Ezra Bridger. We'll then give him an overall score compared to all the other characters we've done thus far, before I then read and respond to some of your comments. But before all that, just a reminder, you can already nominate and or vote for which character we do next. Just head down and respond to my pinned comment below with a character name, or vote with a thumbs up if the one you'd like to see is already listed. Whatever comment gets the most votes in the next 24 hours or so will be the winner and the character we do next. Alright, and now on to the results for Ezra Bridger, where we'll see that 12% of people gave him an A, 48%, or just shy of half of all voters, gave him a B, 28% then thought he was C tier material, which left 6% to give him a D, and a final 6% to give him an F. And so when we do all the math here and consider A a score of 5 and F a score of 1, Ezra Bridger ends up with an average score of 3.54, which currently puts him into 34th place overall out of 38. And this is obviously not the most impressive finish for Ezra, though I also don't think this will surprise or shock too many people. Even those who do love the character and his story likely know there are plenty out there who either are not a fan of him or the show that he was in. And so let's now get to the comments and discuss the good and the bad, the negatives and the positives when it comes to Ezra. But not before I quickly once again say thank you to everyone who votes, comments, and watches the videos. It is all greatly appreciated. Also, since I saw in the comments plenty of people talking about how they're currently watching Rebels or are planning to maybe watch it, do be warned that there will be major spoilers in this video for the show. Anyway, let us now begin, as we always do, with the top-rated comment, which this time came to us from Darth Malik, who said, "He was kinda annoying the first 2 seasons, but really came into his own in seasons 3 and 4. And this was not only the top-rated comment, but one that was echoed by many other people. A lot of comments talked about how he's not so great in the first 2 seasons, but gets much better in the last 2. And for the most part, I do have to agree with that. I'm personally not or wasn't the biggest fan of Ezra overall. I don't hate him or anything, and I really liked his master-apprentice relationship with Kanan, but he just never really resonated with me personally until the bitter end, until that last few episodes, and especially in the very last episode where he makes his sacrifice. And it's kind of ironic that only after he was gone or had disappeared did I really find myself curious and wanting more from the character. And speaking of that, let's get to this comment now from Jake Lakin, who said, "Ezra's story is nowhere near complete. Yes, in the early seasons of Rebels he's an annoying kid, but he really matures and grows as a character in seasons 3 and 4, with the likelihood of him showing up in an adult Disney Plus show. We'll hopefully see him as a fully trained adult Jedi. I can see a lot of people changing their views on him once that happens. Dave Filoni did the same with Ahsoka, and he's paving the way for doing it again with Ezra. B from me." There's also then this comment from Naz Matik, who said, "Man, I feel like there's a huge potential with Ezra. I hope someday Filoni will give us the chance to rise our rate regarding Ezra towards an A." Then also this one from Connor Salferling, who said, "Ezra Bridger was Dave Filoni's reincarnation of Luke, a boy who grows up alone, discovers the ways of the Force, and is then considered too old by Kanan. But Kanan and Ezra grow, forming a great bond between master and apprentice. His conflicts with the dark side of the Force are well fleshed out, and in the end, the Rebels series is focused on him. He ends as a hero freeing his homeworld from the tyranny of the Empire. Very intriguing character, and excited to see where he goes next. Solid B+. Also here we have this one from Tipsy Spinda, who said, "When it comes to Disney Star Wars, I think Ezra was a great introduction to the new canon. I love his character arc. He goes from a lowly street rat and petty theft to young Jedi and a hero of the early rebellion. I can't wait to see how his story continues in the future. A from me." And I think Ezra's story is absolutely going to continue in the upcoming Ahsoka series on Disney+. I'd be surprised if the first season of the show isn't pretty much all about finding him and then dealing with Thrawn in the process and setting him up as the main antagonist of the whole Mandalorian time period here. And who knows, maybe if people really take to Ezra, really like him, he could move into a series of his own or one that features him, or maybe he'll be a part of a series that includes Luke and Grogu as they rebuild the Jedi Order. One way or another, I think there's a lot of potential for this character in the future, and that there's no way we don't see him again and see him again really soon. And going along with that, we have a comment here from Star Wars 34, who said, "He's a little irritating, but that comes with the rating of the show. Overall, a decent character, but I need to see more of him in something other than Rebels to bring him above a C. Also, there's this comment from TopDog525 who said, I heard Disney really restricted the writers, still Dave Filoni has become the master. And like I said, the ending of Rebels really intrigued me, and I'm actually quite eager to know what happened to him and to see that story kind of continue. And I do agree Ezra, and maybe the show Rebels in general, does suffer a bit in the eyes of an adult, at least from the channel that it was on, which was Disney XD, and thus the rating it was given, which is a Y7, or appropriate for kids 7 and older. And I do wonder what it might have been like had it aired on Cartoon Network like Clone Wars did, and if they were free to up the maturity level a bit more. However, that kind of brings us to this comment from Cap Adams 36, who said, I grew up watching Rebels at about 10 years old and I loved it. I may be biased by nostalgia, but Ezra is one of my favorite characters because of how easily I connected with him. He may not have had the perfect arc, but his struggles felt genuine and the way he overcomes them was nothing short of spectacular. A for me. Then also this comment here from Agent who said, by far one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars. I'm of a younger generation, so Ezra and the Rebels introduced me to Star Wars. He also had a pretty good story arc. Sure, he was a little dumb and silly in the beginning, but he truly matured, and by the end of Season 4, he was a deep and serious character. Can't wait to see if they bring him to live action. And there were actually quite a few comments like these two that talked about how this was their introduction to Star Wars when they were younger, just like Clone Wars also introduced a great many younger people, or younger people at the time at least, to Star Wars. And like Clone Wars before it, I did think Rebels and Ezra tried to grow up a bit with its audience, maybe not quite to the same extent as Ahsoka in Clone Wars, again because I think they were limited on how much they could do, or how far they could go on Disney XD. Even though Season 4 did get pretty heavy at times with its themes and episodes, and so did Season 3 with Maul and Ezra being tempted by the dark side. Either way, there was a very similar formula in place behind both shows. One, again, meant to appeal in large part to a younger audience, and then for the show to grow and evolve with them, which is why, though not a huge fan of Ezra, especially in that first 2 seasons, I understood what they were doing with him and I accepted it, especially because we also had Kanan in the show, a character I personally could connect with and relate to far better. Anyway, here I'm surprised we haven't got or heard about a new iteration of this type of show, a new animated series with a younger protagonist that can appeal to kids and then get them hooked on Star Wars, and then for the show to again kind of grow with them. Maybe that was what Resistance was trying to be, though Kaz, who was the main character there, was actually a bit older and just, to be blunt about it, was really kind of clumsy and stupid. And though that's a character type maybe some kids can enjoy, though one adults are less likely to tolerate, I don't think it's one that kids actually really connect with. Not anywhere near the same way as Ezra and Ahsoka, who were much more competent and at least outwardly very confident and sure of themselves. And no, for the record here, I don't think The Bad Batch is going to be a show like Clone Wars or Rebels, or should I say I don't think it'll be using that same sort of starting formula to hook the younger crowd, though it'll certainly appeal to them as well. Instead, I think the show will be for the kids who grew up with those shows, as well as for, of course, those of us who were adults when they came out and loved them all the same. Alright, and moving on now, we have this comment from Baku Bread, who said, it's easy to glance back at Rebels and say that Ezra's arc was just a shorter version of Ahsoka's under different circumstances, but when you really look at his character and what he went through to grow, you realize they are completely different beyond that they both are annoying characters who matured and became fully fledged Jedi. Also here we have this comment from Coco for We, who said, one thing I find a lot of people don't get is he was supposed to be annoying. He evolves from a bratty, selfish, annoying kid to one of the best characters in the show. They do it spectacularly. Then there's also this one from Gamescast, who said, Ezra's arc is like a simplified version of Ahsoka's. He started off like an annoying person, but he evolved to be someone willing to give up his own life to save his friends. Ezra's connections to the Force and the way he interacts with animals is a beautiful story, and the way he was chosen by the Force Wolves and how he was able to stand strong sends a good message to the audience. Ezra is simply a solid A- character that can seem to only get better as we go on. Also then we have this comment here from Melkor637, who said, we've seen kid adolescent Jedi in other media such as Ahsoka, Cal, and other Jedi younglings. Those characters for the most part acted like kids trying to be like adults, which makes sense since they grew up in the strict Jedi Temple. However, Ezra did not grow up in such a rigid environment, and therefore is a kid/adolescent Jedi who actually acts like a kid or adolescent. It was honestly interesting to see such a character, and it played well into the whole family dynamic between the Ghost crew. Zeb is the older but equally immature brother, Chopper his ill-mannered cousin. I found it all funny rather than annoying, and like all kids, it was satisfying watching him grow up and become stronger. And I mean, at their core, Ezra and Ahsoka are the exact same idea or purpose for a character, which, as I was talking about, is for the younger crowd to have someone to relate to and to grow up with, and to, you could even say, learn some life lessons with. However, I do agree with, and like, that they come at it from completely different starting positions, and they actually kind of go in opposite directions or take opposite routes for the same sort of journey. Because you have Ezra who, yes, is the Aladdin street rat type who only cares about and fends for himself, but then he has to learn to trust and put faith in something and someone else again, something beyond the self, and to fight for something more than just himself. While Ahsoka is the one who has a clear focus and goal from the start, who wants to be a Jedi and has all this faith in the organization that she's a part of and cares about and fights for the greater good already, but then she has to eventually learn how to operate without it and to find faith in and to fend a bit for herself. Again, same sort of journey of growth and understanding, but completely opposite paths or directions. Okay, and now next up here we have this comment from Majin Mokai, I hope I'm saying that right, and they had to say, can't say much about Ezra that hasn't been said, but the family he searches for and finds in the Ghost crew is what holds the show and story together, and really embodies what Lucas himself has said Star Wars is about: family. B+. Then there's also this comment from Eth04E who said, I thought he'd turn out to be a discount Luke Skywalker, but he really grew into his own character and an excellent example of how to follow the light path while not becoming removed from regular people. Also here we have this comment from Daniel Levy who said, such a relatable human character. His love for his parents and his father-son relationship with Kanan represent the best things in all of Star Wars. His love and loyalty not only for his friends, but for his people as a whole, even those who lost hope. And I do agree and think one of the best parts of Ezra's story is just watching him slowly come to understand and realize what it actually means to be a Jedi, walking that fine line between having friends that you care about, of course, and yet not letting that be any sort of weakness or something that can be exploited, that you don't try too hard or so hard to save and protect them, that you miss the bigger picture, or you compromise with the dark side for that quick and easy power to protect them, which we see Ezra grapple with mainly in Season 3 and with Maul. And it's also very interesting to see both Kanan and Ezra operate and live in this family structure, which seems to almost fly in the face of what we learn about the Jedi in the prequels, until you realize the Jedi of the prequels era had maybe taken things to the extreme when it comes to no attachments, which is maybe part of the reason why they fall. There's even a great scene in the Season 6 episode of Clone Wars called The Rise of Clovis, where Anakin and Obi-Wan briefly talk about this, where Obi-Wan talks about how he had feelings for Satine, and that it's not that they are not allowed to have feelings since they are just natural, or that you can't have friends. It's just that, as a Jedi, the bigger picture and the greater good has to always be put first. Okay, and now let's get to a few comments from the opposite side of things here, from people who are maybe not the biggest fans of Ezra, starting with this one from Jay Talks, who said, I have to grade Ezra as a whole. He's a horrible character that didn't have well-formed character traits and was quite annoying for most of the show. Protagonists for kids shows can be done better. Further, even as late as Season 4, the writers didn't miss opportunities to dunk on him and his abilities when he should have been finally shaping up like in the opening Mandalore arc. That said, he came into his own in the last few episodes, and now I'm looking forward to seeing him again. But he should have gotten his act together sooner and should have been better written from the start. Grade C. Also hear this comment from Call Me Daddy, who said, I'd give him a C. He went from real annoying to less annoying. Also then this one from Less Common Knowledge, who said, he's not the worst or even an actively bad character. He's just uninteresting and has a truly epic plot armor horseshoe up his ass that prevents him from ever truly losing or suffering any real consequences for his actions. I can't ever shake the feeling that almost every scene and episode would be better without him, most significantly, Twin Sons. And like I said before, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Ezra. He's fine, he's just not my favorite. especially in those first couple seasons. So I certainly do get a lot of the criticism some in the comments had with him or against him. And though yes, we do have to consider what the purpose of the character is and what the purpose of the show really is, which is to be geared more towards a younger audience and to hook them not only on the series but on Star Wars itself. And I do think it does that pretty well. But there are certainly better shows or kid shows, albeit not many out there, with better characters overall, with Avatar: The Last Airbender immediately coming to mind. Still, I think Rebels was a good, solid enough foundation and starting point for the character of Ezra Bridger, and that there is plenty of room to grow and plenty of potential going forward. Alright, and now time for a few final comments before wrapping this up, starting with this one from A Gun, who said, his open ending with Thrawn made him an A-grade character. It was an amazing way to remove Thrawn from play without undermining Thrawn's intelligence. Then this one from Charlotte K, who said, Ezra's entire existence ruined Rebels for me. I tried to give him a chance, but he never got better. My least favorite character in Star Wars. Also this one from Derek Lopez, who said, he's basically the space version of Aladdin. He went from an annoying, whiny street rat to a mature Jedi. I'd give him a solid B. Also, we have this one from Harris Ali, who said, the last episode gave one of the best character sacrifices I have ever seen. It felt so monumental because I saw Ezra grow so much throughout the series. Then we also have this one from Javier Hernandez, who says, his connection to animals through the Force is one of my favorite aspects of it. Then this one from JellyJar78, who said, I watched Rebels with my dad in preparation for Season 2 of The Mandalorian, and we both shared the same opinion of him being the annoying kid archetype for a while, but turned into a good Jedi towards the end. While he has some highs like his amazing sacrifice, he also has some very low lows, like being a pain in earlier seasons. That's why I give him a C+. Then there's this one from Leo Baxter, who said, he's what Rey should have been, a nobody from nowhere who discovers his Force ability and gets taken in by a Jedi in exile. He starts off kind of whiny and annoying, but in the end, he's one of the bravest and selfless characters, solid B. And finally here we have this comment from Citlali Cervantes, who said, I think that his growth represents human struggle between selfishness and selflessness. We can all be very selfish, especially when we are kids. However, as he matured and grew in the ways of the Force thanks to Kanan's training, he slowly let go of his selfish ways to perform the ultimate, most selfless sacrifice that he's done, stepping into the unknown to save his planet from Thrawn. Just like that, I think we all learn in our teenage years to be less self-centered and count others as more important than ourselves. We can all learn a lot from him. And I absolutely agree. I think Ezra and his story show the struggle between selfless and selfish very well, which is of course the core struggle and idea behind Star Wars itself, that we all have to find that balance between the two. We all have to learn how to care for and take care of ourselves, and yet to look out for and love the people around us who are in our lives, while never forgetting the bigger picture or the world in which we live. Well, that's all I've got for you this time. Now it's your turn to tell me what you think of Ezra Bridger, or what you think of what I or anyone else had to say about him here in this video. Either that, or you can, of course, already nominate and or vote for which character we do next. Either way, do leave a comment below and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.